Hi, hello everybody. My name is Sarah Elise, and I'm an astrologer in Toronto, Canada. And this is a newsletter for my community going out on what is the date? 27th of January, 2021. Tomorrow we're having a full moon in Leo at 9 degrees of Leo. So I thought I'd drop down this newsletter to talk a little bit about what's going on right now energetically in our solar system and how that might be impacting our collective consciousness. Um, Now, for those of you who've reached out to me in the last couple of weeks, my sincere apologies for not putting out a new moon newsletter for you because of a second wave here in Toronto, Canada, where I live. We've been in quarantine, and all the children are home from school. They're all schooling from home online. So I've been surrounded by my basket of kittens overflowing for the last few weeks, and I've had to limit my work schedule. Um, but it doesn't mean that I've been limiting my awareness of what's been happening. And the last couple of weeks have been pretty remarkable. They capped off, I think it was about January 12th that we had our new moon in Capricorn. And it was remarkable because the new moon happened at 23 degrees of Capricorn, conjunct Pluto, at pretty much the exact degree point that we'd started 2020 off in, with the alignment between Pluto and Saturn, and then shortly thereafter Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter in Capricorn at 22 and 23 degrees of Capricorn. So it was almost like a completion or a finishing off point, right, of the last cycle. And I just want to kind of energetically and touch in just quickly to the theme and to why we are in such a transition point right now and why this is important for us to understand. So Saturn and Jupiter coming together in any archetype marks the turn of our, I guess, our global collective culture. Okay. Jupiter represents the higher truth or the guiding principles by which we are living. And Saturn is how we bring those guiding principles into form. It's how we build them into kind of a social fabric. Saturn rules the rules, so to speak. It rules the bones of the body, and the bones of our system, and the bones of our culture. And Jupiter is the life of that culture. It's the passion and the story, and it's the mythology of our culture, right? It's the underlying theme that is bubbling under all of the things that we've built. And so we're at this very critical point where we're changing. Our culture is changing right now. It's going from earth to air. We talked a little bit about this at the solstice video that I put out about 4 weeks ago or more now. And you can check that out if you're interested in discussing a little bit more about the meta structure that we're going through, the meta cycle that we're going through. My apologies, around entering into the quote unquote age of Aquarius. So it was a pretty good video for that theme. But just on a kind of a myopic level, what's happening collectively is that we're moving from the 200-year Earth cycle of Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions. Every 20 years, these two planets come together and they kiss and they hold hands and they share information and they create a pulse of evolutionary movement that carries the culture through and helps it move forward. And for the last 200 years, these planets have been coming together every 20 years in Earth signs. In 1980-81, we had the first air sign conjunction in Libra, which was a precursor to this moment in time. On the 21st of December, they came together for the first time at 0 degrees of Aquarius, starting off this pulse of a 200-year air cycle. Okay. Now, all the way through January, these planets were together in Capricorn, but they were also together with Pluto. And whatever Pluto touches, if any of you are astrologers or have studied astrology or have gone through a Pluto transit, you will know Pluto is the catalytic converter of the universe. I mean, Pluto will take something down. It like cooks molecular structure of something, and it dissolves it, and then it allows it to transmute and become something new. So if last year we were dissolving our earth-based patriarchal culture, this kind of resource-based economic, structural, political system, all of these beliefs that had been our guiding principles, all of these cultural structures that we've been relying upon, Pluto came in to take them apart. We went down to nothing, or to 0 point, and became the imaginal soup of our cathartic process, right? Within the cocoon, like caterpillar will enter the cocoon, and then there's a process where the caterpillar will metamorphose into what's called imaginal cells. So the caterpillar literally becomes goop, and then gently and reformulates itself into a new form. And that's the process that we've just come through. So if you have been paying attention, you will have realized that you faced some of your greatest fears in this last 12-month period. You've really gone deep inside yourself, and you've come out with a new relationship. Not only was it impossible for many of us to even have relationships outside of our immediacy, the relationship focus has been very purposefully focused inward, and so that we could recapitulate and dissolve and come into a state of openness. And that's where we're sitting right now. We're sitting on this precipice of this shift or this change. And despite the fact that I couldn't drop a video at the new moon, I was really thinking about it. And I remember the night of the new moon, when the new moon came in, I went into this meditative state. Sometimes this will happen to me at night. I'll just enter into kind of it's like an altered state of consciousness or something, and I'll just receive information at this energetic level. So it'll be like an energetic grid or a map is shown to me, and I start to be able to play with it and understand it and receive information from it. It happens all at a level of intuition and knowing versus language. So to bring that language down requires translation, which is why I'm a wonderful double Gemini and I can do the translation pretty easily. So the information that came in for me the night of the new moon, for hours and hours while I was in a dream state, was that as a collective right now, there is literally an energetic transformation that's happening, or a shift that's happening. There is a state where we are coming from that is a little on the denser side, but we can no longer hold on to it. So it's almost like the ground has been taken out from under our feet. We have no solidity right now. We're not in a place where we know what's going on. We're in a place where we remember, or the familiarity of what is comfortable or what we're coming from is still within our energetic sphere. We're still receiving it, we're still aware of it, but we can't grab onto it, we can't become it, we can't identify with it the way we did before. We're separate from it. And on the other hand, there's this other state of consciousness that we're elevating into that is different. I mean, I don't think either is better or worse. It's not a question of hierarchical judgment. One of them is a little bit denser, and one of them is more diffuse and lighter. And we're moving into this lighter sphere, or this other way of being, this other way of identifying reality and identifying ourselves within it. And as we oscillate in between the old and the new, there's a discordant, there's almost like what I was getting at the new moon was that there was this insecurity that we were feeling. And I know right after the new moon, all of these fears started coming in, like panic fears, almost fears for survival. And at that point in time, our planet Uranus in Taurus came into perfect exact square with, I believe it first squared Jupiter, I believe it was Jupiter. Sorry, like literally 2 days after the new moon. My apologies if I'm incorrect on that. But very, very shortly after the new moon, Uranus began to square Jupiter and Saturn, and came into the orb of square with them. And I started to track this survival fear that started to come in, and it made a lot of sense because as we transition between earth and air, as we move from this denser field to this lighter field, we no longer know how to survive. Like, we don't really know the rules yet. We're figuring it out. This year, as Saturn and Jupiter are creating a new ecosystem, or they're creating a new cultural norm, like a normative structure for culture, and for the collective. We have to get used to it. We have to figure it out. We have to adjust ourselves and our value system within this new reality. We're all creating it together. This is happening. All of us collectively are evolving through this. So this theme has been really present in the last 2 weeks, and I feel like tomorrow's full moon is a moment in time where the work that you've been doing in the last 2 weeks to come into some kind of adjustment to this new reality. A lot of the stuff that's been coming up the last few weeks has been around value and integrity. I don't know if you've been triggered into coming more deeply into your own self, into your own center, and into the things that matter to you. But the call that I've been listening to, deeply, has been about articulation of a deep sense of accountability and responsibility for myself, Capricorn, and for those things that underlie me, the value system, or the underlying the underlying feelings of like what I need to be rooted into in order to feel stable and secure on this planet. This is Taurus. And it's as though there's this higher impulse. Uranus is always an activation of higher mind and higher intuition. There's this higher intuitive impulse to connect down into the root of who I am, and to connect into my body, and to connect into my heart and into my form, to really ground in and receive new information about what it is I want to do and what I want to be in order to survive, and in order to bring myself to this new collective reality that we're all living in. And the square between the Uranus and Taurus and Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius is creating a conflict or a conversation between this new collective reality that we are seeding and building, and then our individual needs and rights to feel safe in our forms and to survive. So what's happening right now is we're bringing in a whole new rule book, right? We're bringing in a whole new set of operating instructions, and we're all trying to adjust to it. And we have no ability to hold on to the past. We have to let it go. We have to let all the structures of the past go, all the old beliefs and paradigms, all the old security systems, all the old defense mechanisms, anything that we are holding on to, all the structures and the forms of the past have to go. And but we can't be formless within this new reality, within this Aquarian consciousness, where the air is the predominant element and our connections to each other become the guiding force for us to lean into, right? Where groups and connection and intellectualization and intuition and sort of this growing excitement that we're all feeling about being interconnected with each other and being part of this global family and this global community. I mean, there's never been a time in history where we had something that connected every single last citizen on the earth. Think about COVID for 1 second and imagine how, whatever your opinion about COVID is, and there are as many opinions about COVID as there are people on this planet, I'm sure, whatever your opinion about it is, the most remarkable thing about COVID is that everybody has an opinion about it. There is like ultimately the most unifying thing that has ever occurred. It does not see your passport. It does not see your gender. It does not see your color. It does not see your socioeconomic status. It is in the air, right? It is in that invisible, imaginal realm of a virus. And it will go wherever it chooses, and it will impact all of us equally. So it's something that is unifying us. And all of the political stuff that comes out of that, and the ideology that comes out of that, is how we are responding to this collectivization in our own personal way, in our own personal narrative. But if you pull back, like, you know, 400 light years out, you look down at the whole thing and you imagine, oh my God, for the first time ever, this whole human race is connected. We're connected through the internet, we're connected through our communication technology. And now we're connected because we're all fighting this we're all interacting with this thing which we perceive as being a threat. And there's a lot of fear right now, isn't there? So much fear as we all within ourselves say, oh my God, how am I supposed to survive? How am I going to survive here? And you may be trying to survive and protect yourself against the virus, or you might be trying to survive and protect yourself against the conspiracy, whatever people who are putting this upon us. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, the stories are irrelevant. I mean, they're relevant because when we're living the stories, we feel very attached to them. But at some level, if you can just see that the pure source call right now is for us as individuals to anchor into what counts the most, anchor into the value, anchor into our higher truth, Uranus, and our body, Taurus, and to stabilize and create a new value system based on higher input, higher impulse, and to weigh in to the collective, Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, from that new value system, and to negotiate our place within the collective field. So we're bringing ourselves into the collective field, and we're stabilizing and grounding into a new value system. And Taurus rules resources and money. I think this year is going to be a very interesting one for watching the financial system and watching, how we literally create abundance and wealth for ourselves on the planet. This is probably something that's going to change a lot this year. But in any case, these are the big themes that are happening right now. And there are a few other themes that are happening. We have Neptune squaring the nodal axis tomorrow at this full moon exact degree, which is remarkable, exactly 18 degrees. And the nodal axis right now, I could do a whole video on the nodes right now. The nodal axis, always in the collective, is where our karma is playing out. So it's the zeitgeist, or it's the mass conscious. It's how we are blowing through karma from the past and learning our lessons, right? It's like the big lesson. It's if we were going to kind of like Earth School 101. That's defined by the nodes of the moon. And right now we're all learning some pretty big lessons about moving toward Gemini, which is an air sign. And we're learning, and as we are stabilizing into an Aquarian reality, which we are defining and building, Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius. So we're all moving toward the air, right? We're moving away from the rigidity of belief, which is Sagittarius. We're moving away from believing we have all the answers and that we know what the hell's going on, that we know what the truth is, because we probably don't. And we're moving toward an open-mindedness where we can listen and we can share information, and we can see that there are underlying principles on this earth that matter to everybody, namely that we take responsibility for being in our bodies. And one of the dangers of Aquarius is that we just literally float away into the techno reality, like into the technological realm, because it is such a high frequency of electromagnetic connectivity and telepathic communication and connection and collection. There is a risk to that, and that is that we become very cold and very detached and very, very analytical and very scientific with our perspective, and that we start to lose touch with this home that we're in with our body, right? I'm watching this unfold with my children right now, as they've gone from being, fairly normal little human beings a year ago to spending the vast majority of their time online. It looked like a 7-year-old, 10-year-old, and a 13-year-old. These kids should not be spending 8 to 10 hours a day online. And my ex-husband and I are working very hard to kind of try and stabilize and ground them into a new, like into some kind of a schedule, so that they have a little bit of a break, so they can pull themselves out, because the technological reality is so addictive. And it's where we're all going, by the way. There's nothing wrong with it. We're lifting into it. It's just going to become completely normal. But we can't let our bodies go unattended, right? Uranus in Taurus, we have to figure out as a collective how to take care of our forms, and how to make sure we all survive here okay, and how to make sure we're all living according to the values that really matter to us. So anyway, these are the meta themes, but and again, just to sort of loop back, sorry, my Geminian nature sometimes gets away with me. The Neptune squaring the nodes right now is really has two themes. Number one, Neptune at a mass consciousness level represents illusion and represents delusion, and represents kind of that dream space where we all go in and we all just believe something, or we dream the same dream, right? And often Neptune rules movies and media, and Neptune rules programming. And I was in corporate, tier one corporate for years. I was in marketing for a big tier one corporation, and I marketed billion-dollar brands, and I know very, very well the power of marketing. And when I watch television, and when I watch the news, and when I put myself into that field of energy, I know exactly what's happening, and I can read all of the levels of manipulation and like I can feel the pull of that Neptunian field, right? If your only reality right now is the media, and if that is the indoctrination, if that's what you're leaning into and you're becoming, and you're becoming that Neptunian field, then your truth is going to be one thing. If you're unplugging and you're plugging into something else, into something different, into something more, whatever you're plugging into is going to give you the meaning of your life. Neptune rules meaning, right? It's a direct line to God if you want to go all that way. Neptune rules spirit. Neptune rules how source comes through and radiates into our reality. It's almost, Neptune and Pluto play a little flip-floppy with their orbits. Sometimes Neptune is the farthest away planet in our solar system, and sometimes sometimes Pluto is, and they kind of go back and forth. But in any case, Neptune is that clear gate to source consciousness, if you can take it to that level. Otherwise, it's illusion. And it's the illusion that we create. It's that field, like it's the field of astral energy that we get swept up in, emotional astral energy that we get swept up in, and it kind of takes over, right? And it becomes what we are. So be very careful right now what you're getting swept up into. And it's not that we can't, watch the news or watch media or watch movies or watch television. I love television. I love movies. I love Neptune. I think it's great fun. But you have to keep your eyes open and keep your mind open, keep your heart open, keep yourself anchored into something that's more authentic, because you'll lose yourself. You'll get swept up. Neptune squaring the nodes is giving us an opportunity to really see through the illusory, delusionary falsity of some of the cultural inputs that are being given to us right now. And that's just going to be for each individual to piece out on their own way, to say, what is real? What do I know for sure? Why do I think I'm right? Am I right? What is that feeling of righteous indignation that comes up to me and that makes me want to defend myself? How else could I orient myself in this situation? Could I let go of needing to be right? Could I let go of my perspective? What happens if I let go? If I let go of my perspective, it feels like I'm going to lose something, or like I'm going to die, or I'm going to dissolve. Is that true? What else is there? What is beyond what I know? What if I opened up to more? What if I realized that I could open my mind to receive information, and that information, um, I can take it in with discernment, and I can stabilize into something greater than me, into my heart, into my soul, and that I can then receive information and see right to the core of it, rather than take it on and become it, right? We're so afraid of other people's perspectives because we're afraid of losing ourselves. And we're not going to lose ourselves if we anchor into God, if we anchor into love, if we anchor into light, right? We're not going to lose ourselves. We are already home. So we can then listen to other people from a place of compassion and love and hear what they're really saying. Not hear their righteous indignation, but hear the meaning behind. And I swear, with the Uranus and Taurus squaring our Aquarian planets this year, all of us want the same thing. We all want to have a safe place on this planet to live. We all want to be home here. We all want to feel secure here. And we all want to be a part of this new world that we're all creating, because it's so freaking cool and it's so exciting and there's so much potential, right? So if we can like flip this argument that's happening and start to see how exciting it is and how beautiful it is, I think we'll be well on our way to having a fantastic year, despite what comes up in the zeitgeist, despite how many fights or how many rebellions or how many arguments happen. We can walk within that in a state of grace if we choose to. So this full moon tomorrow, full moon in Leo, is creating a fixed T-square between Uranus and Mars in Taurus, Saturn, Jupiter, and Sun in Aquarius, and Moon in Leo. That's a fixed T-square. So this is a lot of fixed energy is very strong, it's very still, and it's very intense, right? It holds itself. So the invitation, I believe, tomorrow, given that we started the impulse with a Capricorn Pluto conjunction with Sun and Moon on Pluto, and that we are ending our lunar cycle today. We're at the climax of our lunar cycle anyway, with Pluto conjunct Venus in Capricorn. The opportunity has been to follow the line of our integrity all the way through, follow the line of our value, re-anchor into ourselves in a strong way, and tomorrow stand up and take some credit. It's Leo. It's a full moon in Leo. Stand up and feel proud of where you've been. Feel the pride that comes when you know you're living the best life you can live, when you know you're integral to who you came here to be. That's the job we have right now. That's it. Just be the best you can be and stand up tomorrow and celebrate it. And there'll be this alignment. There's like this perfect alignment around what time is the full moon tomorrow. It's about 3:00 in the afternoon Eastern Standard. So you should be feeling this all day and all night tomorrow. This opportunity to really lock in and feel proud of yourself and feel love for how far you've come since last year at this time, and feel the amazement of how many changes are happening on the planet, and anchor into your own value system so that you can really strongly hold it and believe that you have a right to be here, that you matter, that you're important, and that you have a piece to play in this new world that we're creating, right? The opposite of Aquarius is Leo. We can't have a strong collective unless we all shine our beautiful lights into it. So that's the invitation for tomorrow for our full moon. Please leave me any comments and questions you might have. It's always amazing to hear from you. I hope you enjoyed this and that it brought you something of value, and I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you. Namaste.